Hello and welcome to the Lumi Knits podcast. My name is Hayley and I'm coming to you from Wadawurrung in Victoria, Australia. Really happy to be here. It's a beautiful September morning, 1st of September, so the first day of spring here in Australia. And I've got lots of things to show you and talk to you about today. If you're new to my podcast, welcome and I hope you enjoy it. If you're a returning viewer, thank you. I know that it's a bit sporadic with the posting, but here it is. I don't know what episode number this is, but it doesn't really actually matter. So I'm going to get started. First of all, I only have one finished object that I'm going to show. It is just a pair of socks. If you have watched my podcast before, you know that I usually knit socks for birthdays and Father's Day for my dad and my uncle. So this is just a pair of striped vanilla socks. You can see where my join is. Very basic sock. So I always knit these socks in an 8-ply or a DK weight yarn because they're very warm and cozy, and that's what the recipients enjoy. And just between you and me, these ones are actually for my husband, but he doesn't know that, so they're a surprise. I've knit these up in Bendigo Woollen Mills Rustic in Earth, I think, and I can't remember, but the cream is also a Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn that was left over from my Tecumseh jumper, I think. So yeah, I haven't blocked them yet, but I'm planning on doing that today. So that's the only finished thing I have to show. Before I get into my whips, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Australian Sheep and Wool show in Bendigo. So that was back in late July. I did plan on doing a little podcast about that like a couple of days after, but I just didn't quite get there. So this is a long-awaited Mother's Day gift, I think probably 1 or 2 years, that I've been promising my mum I would take her to Bendigo. And we finally did it this year. So it was a really great day. We went on the Friday, the first day, very cold, but still amazing to get in there and see all the beautiful vendors and everything the show had to offer. We also went to Bendigo Woollen Mills. My mum's a crocheter and she crochets pretty much exclusively with their yarn. So I might talk about that first and then I'll show you some of the things that I picked up at the Sheep and Wool show. So we went to Bendigo Woollen Mills, which I've never been to before, but my mum has quite a few times, I think. I didn't have anything really in mind when I went. The only thing that I've been looking for is something to knit the field sweater by Camilla Vad in, and I wanted something with alpaca in it, so I didn't think I was going to be able to get that at Bendigo Woollen Mills, and I was correct. So I went in and had a look at their famous back room, which was much bigger than I thought, but didn't really have anything that took my fancy until I was on the way out and I noticed some bins that had bags of mixed yarn in them. I think they were $1 or something like that. And I've got a real problem when I find mixed bags of yarn. I sort of can't go past them. So I grabbed a few of those and they're a little bit hit or miss. There's no indication as to what the fibre is or the weight. I'm thinking most of them are either like a lace or a fingering weight. So I think I grabbed about 3 or 4 of those, and they're, like I said, they're pretty hit and miss. So I did get some of these ones. I think this is probably, it smells sheepy, so I'm assuming it's a natural fibre, perhaps with some alpaca in it because it's quite fluffy. So that was one of the ones I really liked. And there was also a bag that had the colour that I can't go past, which is probably, as you would know, a mustard. And so it had 2 of these hanks in it. I haven't wound anything up yet because, as I will talk about in a moment, I've been knitting furiously and haven't had any time to really do any winding or preparing for anything. So this one did have two of these, and I'm excited to sort of wind them up and work out what weight they are and do something fun with them. It also had this kind of oatmeal-y colour yarn, 2 bits of that I'll wind up. I think it will be fun for like a scrappy shawl or something like that down the line, something that doesn't require gauge or can be flexible in how much yarn you need. So that was what I picked up at Bendigo Woollen Mills. I didn't really need Bendigo Woollen Mills quantities of anything other than the field sweater. So I thought I'll save my money and I'll wait until I get to the Sheep and Wool show and see what the vendors have to offer there. So we got in there, I think around 10, and just had a lovely day wandering around, looking at all the beautiful yarn, looking at the things people had knitted that were on display. And yeah, it was a really great day. It was very exciting and kind of by the end of the day a little overwhelming because there was just so much going on. So I was looking, as I said, for something with alpaca in it to knit the field sweater by Camilla Vad. And if you haven't seen this sweater, maybe you're not on Ravelry because it's been really popular ever since its release. As soon as I saw it, I think the test knitters started posting it, and I just knew that it was one that I was going to have to do. So I looked at a bunch of yarns that had alpaca in them, some pure alpaca, some blends. I looked at some straight wool, but I really wanted that alpaca thing. And I ended up getting a sweater's quantity of yarn from Great Ocean Road Woollen Mills, which is kind of funny because they're also based in Ballarat, where I am. So I probably could have just gone over to their shop, but I got it at Bendigo, so it's kind of special there. I was really happy to get something local, even though, you know, it's a long way to go to get something local, but that's fine. And I ended up getting their Bella Honeycomb. And so it's this absolutely beautiful alpaca blend. I can't remember what the exact blend is. I can put it in the notes. In this really beautiful soft caramel colour. It's not showing up. It's kind of a bit browner than what it is appearing on the screen. And I did not regret my choice for a single second because it is just so beautiful. It feels amazing to knit. It feels amazing knitted up. It's just an absolute pleasure. And I've been thinking a lot about the money that I spend on yarn, and, you know, people sort of say, well, you know, $200 or whatever is a lot to pay for a jumper, but it's not just paying for the jumper, it's paying for the experience of knitting with it. So quite frankly, the amount of time I spend knitting with the yarn, if you worked it out, is probably less than what I pay in subscription services for TV shows. So really, really happy with this, and in a moment I will show you how far I've gotten on my field sweater. So that was one of my purchases. I also got some of this absolutely gorgeous yarn from Fluff and Nonsense. So this is their Tibetan singles yarn. It's a superwash merino, silk and yak. And this comes in 120 gram skein, so 480 meters, so really generously sized. And this is in the colorway Burnished. And it's stunning and it feels so lovely. I don't know if you can see the halo. I'll hold it against my jumper. You can see the halo on that. It's just beautiful. My only regret with this is that I only got 2. I should have gotten at least 3. I'm thinking about making a light vest or t-shirt in this, and I'm just worried I'm not going to have enough. So it was really difficult for me to choose at Fluff and Nonsense because all of the yarns were just so beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't speak more highly of it. They were also situated right near Owl of Athena, and I was going to get yarn to do a cloud bow from Owl of Athena, but they didn't have enough of the colour that I wanted, which I think was like mustard. So that might be something I order from them in the future once I've had a test run with some sort of cheap leftover mohair that I've got lying around. So this was Fluff and Nonsense. I'll put all these in the show notes. This was Fluff and Nonsense, and just the beautiful colours. Look at that. And it's also kind of almost shiny. I can't wait to knit something really beautiful with that one. And my other purchase was from Melbourne City Dyeworks, and this was a bit of an impulse buy. I don't have anything in mind for this, and I am a little stumped. So if you've got any suggestions for what I can do with it, I'd really appreciate those. I bought a 5-pack of minis in Mohair. So the colours are gorgeous. They're sort of like, there's a very flossy pink and then some lovely blues and a silvery colour, and then this one which is a bit more variegated. I was thinking of a shawl, and so I bought just a single hank of sock yarn in I'm not sure what this colourway is, Anna, and I thought maybe I would just knit that all together and just make something like a Sophie scarf or something similar to that, but I'm a little unsure. So if you've got any suggestions what I can do with 500 meters of silk mohair, I'm assuming that's one per hank. If you've got any suggestions, please let me know in the notes, because I want to do something special with it, but I also don't want it to sit up on my shelf for years and years and years, as some of my other lovely yarns have. So it was a really enjoyable day. Just browsing all the different stalls and seeing everything that was going on there, and you know, there were all the fashion and all the sheep and stuff that was there. It was really fun. So Mum and I have definitely got plans to go again next year. The only problem is it tends to coincide with my sister's birthday weekend, so we have to make sure we do something to get her birthday made special. She's not really keen to come along. It's not her thing. Well, maybe next year it might be, who knows? You never know when someone's going to start knitting, I suppose. So that was my Bendigo experience. I didn't really explain it properly, but it was over a month ago now, so my memory's not that flash that I can tell you a whole bunch more than that. I'll go to my whips because I really want to show you my field sweater. I haven't spent anywhere near as much time on this lately as what I would like to, because I, as usual, have left my Father's Day knitting to the last 2 weeks, and knitting 2 pairs of socks in 2 weeks when you have no time is not really all that enjoyable. So I've just been knitting socks, and knitting socks, and the field sweater's been sitting on my desk looking at me sadly, asking when I'm going to come back, and the answer is in about a week, I think, once I get this last pair of socks out of the way. So this is where I've gotten to so far. It's the yoke. I've finished the small grains here, and I think it's going to split into 2 more sets of small grains. I can't really talk a lot about it, but if you jump onto the Field Sweater Ravelry page, you might be able to see a little bit more what I mean. So these grains are basically a bobble that is sort of pulled to one side or the other, kind of like a cable bubble, if that makes sense. Some of the people in the comments are freaking out a bit about how to do it, but one of the things I found with knitting patterns since I started knitting was what you have to do is you have to read what it says to do and do it. Don't think about it, don't overanalyze it, just do exactly what it says. And that's what got me through the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along, because if you read it and think about it, it's crazy. And sometimes it can be really hard to get your head around those instructions, because you're thinking about it and thinking, well, how's that going to work? And what does that mean? And I need instructions. But really, if you just do exactly what it says, don't think about it, that's how it works for me anyway. Everyone's different. But that's what I do. I do exactly what it says, and if it doesn't work, I pull it out and I try again, and usually I'll get it the second time because sometimes the first is a little bit tricky. But yeah, like once I think I pulled out maybe 2 rows on this field sweater because I made an error in my counting. There is a lot of sort of counting and following of pattern for probably the first 15 rows, but once you get the hang of it, it's a no-brainer. You just kind of whip through it. So I'm really happy with how this is looking. It feels so lovely. It's a bit fuzzy, but not super fuzzy. Some people are doing theirs held with mohair, but I'm just going to do it with this because the alpaca makes it so soft. I don't think it needs a mohair element to it. And also I'm terrified of mohair, which is why I'm getting the paralysis with those minis. But anyway, yeah, so this is the Field Sweater by Camilla Vad. I can't recommend it or not recommend it yet because I haven't finished it, but at the moment I'm really enjoying it and I can't wait to be finished with all this sock knitting so I can get back to it. I think that's all I've got to say about that one. My next work in progress is the one that's taking the time from my field sweater, and this is my dad's Father's Day socks. So I've done many different socks for Dad. I've done striped socks, I've done colourwork socks, I've done the laid edges socks, which I love, which have got that beautiful sort of feathery pattern coming down the sides, and I wanted to do a really simple cable sock mirrored. So I had a look at a few different cabled sock patterns online, couldn't find exactly what I wanted, so I just took elements of a few different ones, and it's very basic. It's just a vanilla sock with one cable, and they're going to sit off to the outside of the foot, and they're mirrored, so one's a right leaning cable, one's a left leaning cable. The interesting thing about these, I do have one finished, but I am unsure where that is at the moment. The interesting thing about these is that this is going to be my first attempt at an afterthought heel. I haven't done an afterthought heel before, ever. I've mostly stuck to Fish Lips Kiss heels, but I wasn't sure that I had enough of this yarn. I only bought 3 balls. This is Cleckheaton Country Naturals 8-ply, just a very stock standard yarn here in Australia. It's 85% Australian wool, 10% acrylic, 5% viscose. So I'm hoping the acrylic content of this will help to make them a little sturdier. Yes, and that's why I'm doing the afterthought heel. I'm not sure that I will have that. I'm a top-down sock knitter, so I'm never quite sure if I've got enough. And I could try toe up, but I find it super intimidating. So I decided just to do an afterthought heel instead. So hopefully I will be able to give you good news about that in a week or so, because I'm aiming to have them finished by then. So yeah, basic vanilla sock. For my dad and my uncle and my husband, I always cast on 56 stitches, except one time I cast on 58, which was a very strange thing to do. They worked fine, but it just meant I had 27 for the front and the back needle. And I knit on 9-inch circulars, so it doesn't matter all that much. I don't know what really more there is to say about that. They feel really nice. They're coming up well. I love this colourway. I used it in my Soldotner. I used it along with some greens in my Soldotner, and I've always just really enjoyed using this yarn. So socks, more Father's Day socks. That's all I can really say about that. And the final thing that I was going to show today was the Sonder sweater that I'm knitting for my husband. This one got bumped by the field sweater, so I was hoping to have it done by his birthday in October, but I don't really like the chances of that happening. Since I think I showed it in my last podcast, but since then I made it. I got sick. So while I was sick, I made a concerted effort to get the colour work section finished, and I did get that finished, and now I'm onto the body. So I've split for sleeves, and I've tried it. Like, this is not a surprise. My husband knows I'm knitting this because I am not going to put the work into something and have it not fit. So he's tried it on. The fit is good so far. He's really happy with it. Yeah. So split for sleeves. Looks like, oh, I put in a lifeline. That's unusual for me. It's knitting up beautifully. I did make a mistake in this section, so I think I repeated this section wrong. I think I added in a couple of extra repeats. I think after this second row of 3 light brown stitches, I was supposed to go straight into those vertical stitches, so it was only really supposed to be like a rectangle with one up the top and one down the bottom, but I for some reason didn't pick that up, so I've left it in. I can't be bothered pulling back. It doesn't make that much of a difference to the pattern. I think it still looks really nice, and no one is actually going to know unless they have got the chart or they're really familiar with this pattern, so not too worried about that. This is knitted from Bendigo Woollen Mills Rustic, I think. Yep, Bendigo Woollen Mills Rustic Earth. For some reason I bought, I think 6 or 7 balls of this. I'm only going to need probably 3 or 4 for his jumper. So perhaps if I've got enough left over, I might make something for my son. So the main colour of this Sonder is Bendigo Woollen Mills in Rustic in Earth, and the dark brown is just some leftover Lincraft or Spotlight pure wool that I've had in my stash forever, because I actually knit, the first jumper I ever knit was just a plain flax sweater without the garter for my husband, and that's just, the dark brown is the leftovers from that. So it's all tying in together. That's all for my whips at the moment. Are you going to ask about my Penguono? It's over there in its basket. I took it out and looked at it and went, no. And so now I've put the basket in a less visible place, but it's still there and it's still looking at me. And I don't want to do it. I can't pick a colour for the edging. I just don't want to do it. The poor Penguono, it's not its fault. It's just a really, I just don't want to do it. Yeah, so don't ask. Don't ask about the Penguono. That is all my whips. I haven't been sewing very much lately. It's been a very busy time in our house. We've had some illness go through, as I think everyone has in the last couple of months. So it's been hectic with work and kids and illness and looking after the house and the dog, and yeah, it's been busy. So not much sewing, but I do have some plans to do a wrap skirt, which I'm just looking at a tutorial on YouTube for that. I have all the pieces cut out. I have started it. It's probably maybe 40 minutes work, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But I will when I really need something to wear somewhere. So I'm going to do that. I'm also really wanting to make a pair of Clyde pants. I've changed the size of the Clyde pants that I was wearing. They were a smidge small and a smidge short. So I've sized one size up and I've changed to the long length, and I'm hoping that that will be better. I did buy some fabric for that. I'm not going to pull it out, but it's I don't know what I was thinking. It is a pattern fabric and it's got big flowers all over it, and there's no way that's going to work with the Clyde pants because there are panels, and matching the print will be a nightmare, and I'm not into nightmare sewing. So there's that. Other than that, that's about all. I'm looking for more knitting podcast recommendations, please. I just watched the Flannel and Pearl podcast, Flannel and Pod or Pearlcast. You'd have to look it up. I've only just started following Christopher on Instagram, and then I saw he was doing a podcast and I watched it, and it was the best podcast I think I have ever seen. It made me so happy. It was very gentle, very celebratory of craft and just life. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I can't wait for his next one to come out. And I think it's going to come out Friday, which is today here, but yesterday, tomorrow. It's from the other side of the world. So I think it will probably come out tomorrow for me. I'm no good at times. So yeah, if you're looking for a podcast, I would highly recommend that one. But if you've got any podcast recommendations for me, drop them in the comments. They're always welcome. So what am I asking for? Podcast recommendations and recommendations on what I can do with those Mohair minis would be great as well. I think that's all from me now. I've gone through this at my usual breakneck speed, and I've probably forgotten a heap of things. I think I forgot to mention the socials. So you can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram. I'm going to put my names of those in my description box so you can read there. And if you're interested in finding out more about what I'm knitting, they're the places to do it. And I'm going to go and try and get some things done before I have to pick my kids up from school. So wherever you are, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're getting lots of time to do the things you love, and I will see you next time. Bye.